Hey, what's up guys, it's Bridgette. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be about neutral palettes that for one reason or another still grab my attention. Now, we all know this is not my normal everyday look. I went for a very neutral everything today because today's video is about neutral palettes and I kind of wanted to be like in the vibe of it. So for one reason or another, some neutral palettes still grab my attention. Like, it's not necessarily going to be about warm palettes. I didn't really want to include but maybe one warm eyeshadow palette in this because this is all about neutral palettes that are kind of like, we have these colors, they're kind of basic, but for one reason or another my heart wants them and I gravitate towards them. So without any further ado, let's jump into the video. Alright, as always, all makeup on this channel is cruelty free, and I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe before you leave. It'd be cool. So, I always dig on neutral eyeshadow palettes because they're everywhere. There's way too many of them, and I still wholeheartedly believe that. But some of them are still kind of pretty. So let's get started with the first one, which is one I recently got. Probably got last month, maybe the month before, and I cannot stop playing with it. I am so bored by neutral eyeshadow and stuff, but the quality of this thing, Let's take a moment right now to go ahead and guess in the comment section what palette I'm referring to. I'll wait. I am talking about the Soft Glam palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. This thing has amazing reviews, and for good freaking reason. This thing makes your life so easy. I am wearing it today. I've had this on for about 5 hours, so don't judge my face. But I know you guys have heard so much about this, and you always hear me talk about the Modern Renaissance because that's the one I used the most. But lately, I cannot stop touching it. I think my favorite thing about this palette is it's easy. Any of these colors you put together is a great combination. There's none of these colors you're like, oh, that doesn't go with that. These all go together. If you're going for like bridal makeup, you're going for like everyday makeup, then you're not comfortable with color, this is the palette. I mean, when you put a matte on your eyes, there's a little bit of kickback with the mattes in this palette, but it practically blends itself out. It's so easy to work with. I can use the cheapest brush to one of my more expensive brushes, and it's still just like the most amazing quality. These shimmers last very well all day. They have a little bit of, it's not like a dry. They have a little bit of a texture to them that makes them a little bit less transfer proof. So if you have a hooded lid like me, it's probably gonna not transfer up over your crease as like much as a normal one would, because you get something that's kind of sticky, you get something that's kind of a wet shimmer, it's gonna transfer immediately. This one kind of holds back as long as it can. It hangs in there all day. It's beautiful. I love the packaging. It's just a really great quality neutral palette, and I didn't think I didn't get this on release. I bought this used because I didn't think I'd used it that much. But it's great, and I really love this kind of neutrally muted brown color. It's not even brown, it's purple color. It's great. Now, I do want to talk about two palettes that really inspired this video because they're neutral, yes, but then there's always like, it's not really a neutral palette to me. And these are both by Melt Cosmetics. It's a brand I've never tried before, but I desperately want to because they have these two palettes. Most of the colors in them are neutral, kind of like basic colors, but there's still something about it that really just like, it just oozes like, oh. So this is the Gemini palette, which is not really a neutral palette because it has some greens in it, but it's kind of a neutral palette. It's not like anything crazy colorful, but it has some greens in it. It's very beautiful. It's very attractive. I would like to date that palette. And then we have the 27 palette. Now, this is the only like warm toned really palette in this video because I didn't want to pull out just like the Naked Heat and the Anastasia Modern Renaissance because, you know, we all know about those palettes. They're not really neutral palettes, they're more like warm tone palettes. But this 27 palette by Melt Cosmetics physically hurts to look at. You're just like, I need you. It's just like, I don't know. I love it. I'm gonna get it eventually one day, but it's just a beautiful palette. But again, none of the colors in there are anything that you need. Like, they're things you have in other palettes. It's just something about it. Alright, so back to the more neutral tones. This is a palette I love dearly, I use a lot, and I think the reason I really like it and I still find it intriguing as a neutral eyeshadow palette is because there is a purple in here and there's a lot of mattes, and I really appreciate a matte palette. So, this is the Lorac Pro 3 palette. You guys know I love Lorac shadows. I think they're beautiful, they're very soft, they're very pretty. I love it so much. You can get them online for like really cheap too, used, because people forget about them because they are so neutral usually. This is the Pro 3. I think this color makes a lot of people buy it. It is a beautiful like berry color. Swatches out beautiful, so soft. I did make a mess. But I think why I really love this is because there is a whole row of mattes along with the shimmers, but usually when you're reaching for a like really, really neutral palette or something around this color scheme with like some kind of dusty, subtle browns, a lot of them are shimmers or like they're goldish lid colors that are shimmers. But this has so many mattes. They're so pigmented, they're so soft, and I think the fact that it has like orange, browns, and light pinks and a light matte base, and you can also build it up with the dark colors in this palette makes it very versatile, and it definitely is like a pro palette. It's amazing quality. So next up is one that I don't have the real version of this. I have the Prism Makeup Peach Dream palette, but we're also talking about the Too Faced Peach palette. It's something that I definitely wanted to try, and it's like a neutral palette. Like it has some warm pinks in here, but like all of the top row, you have like three really like kind of warm pinky colors. The rest of them are pretty neutral. It is a very beautiful palette. I think because now layout of palettes is very important in making them attractive. I think because you have the bright color, this pink, in the middle of the palette, it really like you focus on this pink and then your eyes blow out to the rest of the shades in this palette, which are not nearly as spectacular, but for one reason or another, these colors all go really well together. You can build any of these up, and it looks really cute, even though there's like maybe two real colors that aren't neutral in this palette. It's still very eye-catching, and I think it's really pretty. So next up is a cool toned palette. This is a very neutral palette, and a lot of their palettes have been very neutral lately. And this is the Fame palette by ColourPop. Now we could also talk about the Fortune palette, which is more of their warm eyeshadow palette, but this one is just very stunning, and it's all an illusion. Now, one thing that really made me mad when I saw the advertisements for this palette and why I didn't buy it when it first released is look at this amazingly pink, beautiful packaging. There's blue on the inside. It's so colorful, and it's just neutrals on the inside. Like, this palette is amazing quality. It's absolutely perfect, buttery, soft, perfect, pretty eyeshadows. They're great. They're freaking fantastic ColourPop shadows. But you put it against this bright blue and it makes you think you're getting something that you're not. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a scam to put bright pink and purple and blue packaging, then have all neutrals. It doesn't fit the color scheme in the inside, but again, I have it, so it worked, right? But it's really pretty. I do like the quality of these shadows as well, but I was really just attracted to the packaging when I bought this. So next up is one that I do not have. I was going to buy it, but it is sold out currently. And this is the Juvia's Place Warrior palette. Juvia's Place is known for the colorful palettes. Beautiful quality, amazing, colorful, pigmented palettes. But this is their one neutral palette, and it's so pretty. I think that because it is their only like kind of neutral with really nice pretty golds in there, it makes it a very intriguing palette. It's so pretty. As always, like the artwork on the cover of Juvia's Place palettes is to die for. It's very beautiful, simplistic artwork on the front. I love the inside. I love the layout of the shadows. I feel like the golds in that palette really catch my eye. Even though I have a million gold shadows, I don't need it. But like Juvia's Place palettes are affordable and they're really good quality, so of course I want to try it. It's very beautiful. So next up is one that I have, and I look at it all the time. I think about reaching into it. I have not used it yet. This is the Violet Voss Pro Holy Grail palettes. It's very pretty. I was very attracted to it. I wasn't attracted to it when I saw the listing for it until I googled it and I saw like it in different settings and like pretty white desks and everything, and it's very pretty. This is a neutral palette. But what makes it sell? other than the fact that some of these shadows are like very similar, is that we have pinks, and then we have all these neutrals, and then we have a bright orange in the corner. Like, I think because the outer corners of this palette like are the red pinks, then we have the bright orange. I think because the brighter, more eye appealing colors are on the outside, it really makes it kind of an illusion that look at all these pretty bright things, and then all the middle's neutral. I think they did the same thing with the Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, because they put all the colors in the very bottom corner, kind of distracts from the rest of the palette, which honestly, most of these colors in here are not very intriguing to me. But overall, as the palette, looking at it, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to dip into that. This looks so pretty. It's like a very eye-appealing palette. I think one of my favorite things about this palette is this pink color called So Jelly. It's just a stunning pink. You have the hashtag, which is the orange. You have the Wine and Dine, which is like the kind of mauve-y pink berry color. It's all an illusion when it comes to these neutral palettes, and what gets me. Honestly, it's all an illusion. I'm not really attracted to neutral palettes. Like, I never had the Naked 1, 2, Smoky, anything like that. I had the basics, I think. They don't get to me because they have very neutral packaging. All the colors are kind of similar, but when you have one or two pops of color and you have like really pretty packaging, a really unique layout to the palette, it really gets to the consumer, which happens to be me this time. So we have one more palette to talk about, and this is one that I save for last because it's not something I look at all the time and I'm like, I'm gonna dip into it. It's something I desired for like a year. This is an old palette. It is not available anymore. And I finally got my hands a hold of it. Got it in my hands. And it's all about the packaging once again. I think that's what makes me attracted to neutral palettes. I love colorful palettes, you guys. But when I see a neutral palette, it's always something that gets me. This is a Natural Love palette by Too Faced. It was limited edition. The FOMO was real. This is the palette. It's got beautiful gardening packaging. It's got a beautiful shiny gold packaging. And again, you see this pink, it grabs my eye. You see this kind of yellow color, grabs my eye. All of these colors look so similar on camera, like in person. You can tell they're different, but they're all just very muddy, dark colors. And then you have all this lightness, and you have all these pastel colors. And it's a very appealing package. Like, you see this, you're like, oh, that's really cute. And you see the cover, you're like, oh, that's really pretty. But I don't know, I feel like I don't like the quality of this as much as I thought I would. It was so hyped in my heart when I just saw the beautiful advertisement for it and stuff. Like, that's beautiful. So overall, I'm attracted to neutral palettes sometimes, but it is for usually one or two colors out of the palette or the packaging. I am very attracted to colorful eyeshadow palettes. So when it's a neutral palette, I really need to start thinking about why I want it. The only ones that, sitting back reflecting on all the palettes that I have that are neutral and the ones that I really want that are neutral, the only ones that I can say overall it's not because of the packaging and it's not because one or two of the colors is the Juvia's Place Warrior palette. It's the Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette for the performance, and it's the Gemini palettes and the 27 palette by Melt Cosmetics because they look, honestly, overall really pretty. And I think you'd be able to create a more unique, beautiful look with those shadows. They all kind of blend together pretty well, hopefully. So, I don't know. You guys can let me know what makes you attracted to a neutral palette in the comment section down below. I think for one reason or another, some of these palettes I never use because I'm not really a neutral person. But yeah, if you are a neutral person, let me know your favorite neutral palette in the comment section down below too. I'd really love to hear it. If any of these palettes you don't like, or like you have a holy grail neutral palette, I'm kind of curious because maybe I want to Google it and be like, that looks really pretty. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I love you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.